Well, hello, welcome back. I had the engine running, so if you cannot hear me, sorry about that. But it's not running too loud. It's set at a normal idle. I'm letting it warm up a little bit because, well, if you have not seen this car in a while, it's because I purchased it in June 2023. It was in storage pretty much until November 2024, where I decided to finally do something with it. So what I did was a guy that's been doing a little bit of work on cars like my little touch-up things like my 90 Celica and my 93 Celica and 89 Camry and whatever, said he would try to get this paint looking as original as possible. Now, 5 months later, almost to the day, I got a call. Hey, it's ready. Can you come get it? Well, yeah, I'll come get it. I'm heading out of town. I was supposed to leave tomorrow morning. I have decided to go Friday morning. So that car right there is going to Charlotte, North Carolina, Friday morning. Have some things to do here. This is my 1985 Pontiac 6000 LE Luxury Edition. Factory wire wheels. This pretty much has almost every single option you can get on a LE, or you could have got on an LE. Someone had asked me about the interior, and let me shut it down real quick. I'll show you real quick the gauges. This is a full gauge car, not the digital gauges. You could get the digital gauges from the STE on an LE or a base model, but it does not. This has 53,979 miles. Has a trip odometer, which was part of the gauge package, which gave you a tach. And it also, we're gonna have the fuel gauge, but it relocated it. You had your temp gauge, your oil gauge, and your volt gauge. Now the oil gauge has left to chat somewhere. I have to work on that. I don't know what's going on. I have the original radio sitting inside. I was going to set it up, but then I couldn't find it for 3 months. And I finally figured out where I put it. And instead, I am going to pull this one out, and I'm going to see if that one works. Now, if it doesn't, I got the address, I got the place that'll work on it for a reasonable amount of money, so I'll do that. So this car is an original car. Trunk release. I'll show you the trunk. I'm going to shut her down, show you the rest of the interior. So, in this car, as an LE, and what is this? It's under the, no, it goes under there. Okay, there's a few little bit of sorting. I just picked this thing up, so I have to go and finish a few things on this car. I'll go through and spot clean the interior. It was pretty clean when I got it, but I want it to be as clean as possible. This is Empress cloth. This is velour. This was standard on your LE. Empress cloth velour, very plush, very soft, very of its time, bromey, if you call, these cars had brome editions. This was an LE. They didn't have a brome edition of this, but this would be the kind of car that someone who wanted a traditional kind of vehicle would have. This has the same console as you're going to see on the STE, my 84 STE, if you've watched that video. And this was unusual on a LE. This car was only a couple $100 difference from the price of an LE. It was $13,900, I think. From an STE, I'm sorry. This an LE, $13,900. You were looking in 1984, an STE was like $14,300, and it only had two options: a sunroof and those suede leather seats that my 84 has. So that was like a It was less than $15,000 for every option. STEs came with everything standard: power windows, power mirrors. This doesn't have power mirrors, you know, but this car was within spitting distance, this particular one, of a STE. This is a V6, you know, same V6 as the STE. This has a 4-speed automatic. The STE had a 3-speed. This was optional on here. But I will tell you, when you're driving this, sometimes you want to just drop this into drive rather than overdrive. It's like in a manual transmission. Sometimes you want to be cruising through the neighborhood in second gear instead of third or fourth or fifth, just because it's where you pick up most of the engine power. Now this car is a two-tone. It's extra cost. Had the wire wheels, extra cost. And like I said, this is 90% original paint. That is a brand new, old stock Pontiac badge in the original grille bumper. We had to refinish the bumpers on here. They just were not looking right. So they match better now. And I think that's because luckily this was a better material, not like some of the GMs of that day, which crumbled, but it faded a little different than the body panels. And it was chipped up, especially like where the Pontiac badge was. So that's part of the paint that was blended. It's amazing. I mean, he just knows what he's doing with this paint. Now, this car has some chips in it, and he got some of the bigger ones, but some of them, you know, you're still going to see that they were chips. And, you know, it kind of is what it is. There's one spot on the other side where it had a little ding in it, and there's a paintless dent removal guy that did work on my Toyotas for me, and I'm gonna see if he can try to get that, but I'm never gonna make it look like it never happened, because, you know, like there's one thing here. You can see there's a dimple right here, and I think he can get that one out. But this is original paint. So the question had arisen from some experts who know what they're talking about, that they didn't think that this paint was gonna come back. And I talked to a couple guys about it, and the third guy, who I knew was going to do all like the other work with this car, said, let me try it. And sure enough, he was able to get it to look like this. So here we are, and this is Don Miller. It's a Pontiac dealer. I think they still exist today as a Subaru, and etc. I don't know the other stuff on there. In Madison, Wisconsin, is Don Miller Pontiac. The original badge. I did not replace the badge. I think what I'm gonna do is try to touch this one up. I have like 4 or 5 new old stock 6000 LE badges, and I think I'm just gonna let this go. Yeah, that is my plate. I don't know if it's gonna remain on this car. I kind of got that nickname from some GM front wheel drive friends, and kind of like it. I occasionally wear jorts. I'm not wearing them today, but it just, to me, was kind of funny. And I was driving up from DC, and I was behind a Corvette, and it had JORTZ on it. And I was like, okay, what can I get with jorts on it? And so I got that. If this plate doesn't stay on this car, it'll stay on something else. I'm not letting that plate go. But I wanted you to see this original bumper material. See how this is delaminating a little bit underneath here, and I could probably pick that off, whatever. I'm not going to. That's why I was looking through, and I gotta clean this up. I'm gonna hurry up, and I want to do some detail work. This has all been redone here. This has all been matched, paint matched. But I'm gonna get in here with a detailer and go through and detail that, because time is money, and I didn't want to spend money on something that was actually within my skill set, which is like, this is within my skill set. So I'll clean that up and get it nicer. You can see under here, this is a Canadian built car. That is lacquer paint. And the guy I bought it from, Gabriel, told me that, you know, these are the better ones to have. The Canadian built cars were the better of the 6000s. And, yeah, and it's true. I mean, so look how shiny and clean this looks, okay? Now, shiny and clean that looks. If you watch my first video of this vehicle from June of 2023, it's almost 2 years, it did not look like this. And when I bought it from him, he said he thinks this paint could polish up. It was not in his skill set either. And the most important thing is to know what your skill sets are, and find someone that can help you with that. And luckily, you know, this car kind of ended up for him, you know, in his hands. And for me, you look at this, oh, it's a nice car and everything, but this car has a lot of sentimental value for me. So this is what's called light chestnut metallic. This is dark chestnut metallic. And my father had a 6000 base model in light chestnut metallic. He got it in April of 1985. So it's April of 2025. It's 40 years later. And to me, even though I've owned this car since June of 23, it's almost like I've got my new one 40 years after the fact. So, you know, that's why, like, for a lot of my cars, you know, Sentimental, I learned how to drive on that 85 Pontiac 6000. And I took my driver's test on that 85 Pontiac 6000. So, and I'm only 3 years away from my son, who you saw in that first video. He's inside, not feeling well today. He's going to take his driver's test in this car, and he knows, and he already shakes his head. But the fun thing about this car is it's sentimental. It really is. A quick story, my dad this was a company car for him. He and my mom bought their first ever new car a few months prior, which was an 85 Buick LeSabre. And yeah, you guessed it, light chestnut. I still have that car. That's next on the agenda for a little bit of TLC. Doesn't need as much as this one did. And this one turned out pretty good. That one's going to turn out gooder, because it's just, this car, like some of this trim and stuff like that, is going to keep me from campaigning this at the AACA in like the Judge Junior Senior Grand National class. I have that 84 STE, and that car's ready to go to show tomorrow. This one, I'm going to put it in the Survivor class, which I'll start doing, but you can only show one at a time. So this one's going to go to GM Nationals. This one's going to get driven around. This one's going to have a lot of fun with me enjoying it as the car. That 84 is beautiful. It's wonderful, but I'm scared to drive it. I don't like saying that about any of my cars. You know, I have a new Corvette. I drive that thing. 15,000 miles on this thing in 1 year. That's the part of it. You enjoy them. That car, though, it's special. It's rare. It's so original. And I can drive this one, enjoy this one, and I'm probably going to trailer that one to shows. But getting back to this. So my dad would get these new cars. And in 83, he got his first ever Pontiac 6000. He paid to get the LE package on it. It was silver, had a blue velour interior, dark blue velour interior. And it was a pretty car. The problem was my dad would load them up and then buy them afterwards. The first time he ever loaded up a car and turned it in was that 83, because it caught fire 3 times. And I'm not kidding you. It was not a good car. Those earlier 6000s, 82, 83, and yeah, even 84s to a certain extent, had some issues. So when he got his, This is what he would have got if that 83 would have been fine. He would have loaded this one up just like this, an LE. I don't know if he would have two-toned it, but it would have probably had wire wheels. My dad, you know, he was the guy that put a carriage roof on it, gold trim. He just loved that sort of stuff. And instead, he got this base model. It had a bench seat. It had black seat belts because for you GM folks that do or do not know it, see those belts were called colored keyed belts. They were their standard on the model if it was an LE, or they were optional on lower trim levels, like a base 6000. You'd have to pay like $10 or $11 to get your seat belt to match the color of your interior. Otherwise, you got standard black. So that car had black seat belts and a gold interior. Unusual car, fun car. This is the one car that I always thought to myself, I would really like to have that back. It was gone, you know, never thinking I would find one. And then I find this thing and it's loaded how I'd want it to be. And I didn't think it would ever clean up this nice. I thought, okay, am I gonna paint it? Paint it, that's a lot of money. You know, I have a decent amount involved in this car, finding parts. And oh yeah, parts, let me show you something. In the back of my 4Runner, I have parts for an 86 STE, and my 85 and 84. I buy parts when I see them. So they were all gathered here. Some were in the 85, some were in the 86, and they're all going out to my garage. But, you know, I could probably compress this down to about half of that. But like, you know, these boxes, there's parts like this is the original valve cover, or, you know, air cleaner that had the trumpet sawed off on it to make the thing run better. And they disconnected a bunch of stuff on this car to make it run better. So I just, instead, I'm putting it back. I got my smog pump in here and I haven't gotten the smog pump yet. So I'm gonna pause this video. I'm gonna pop that hood. I'll show you a little around there and what needs to be done on that. All right, so as you can see, this was redone. I have a spare grill sitting at my house, my garage, I'm sorry. And this right here is where the smog pump will bolt. And back through here are all the wires and everything to integrate the smog pump into the emission system. Your exhaust gas canister. It was liberated from this vehicle at some point in time. So, I don't know. This was replaced, and in here there's like solenoids to let it run. Well, I will tell you, I don't think that obviously everything is hooked back up the way it needs to be. But we had the valve covers, gaskets replaced, new plugs, new plug wires, oil change, that sort of thing. It runs fine. You still have to start this up and let it run a little bit, warm it up a little bit. So be it. This is a new blanket that I cut from the pattern of the other one. And so went perfectly back in here. I could cut this with a little bit of, I had a little bit of wiggle room because these things are big. The holes aren't as big as that, but then the cover's over, so if you accidentally don't get it perfect, you don't see it. But take my word, came out okay. So, excuse me. I'm gonna do a little bit of detailing under here, a little bit of cleaning. They went through, removed all of the undercoating here. Didn't need it. So the rest of this stuff is just dirt and everything, and you know, that's on me to clean up, and I love doing that kind of stuff. I'll steam it out, I'll clean it up, I'll get it looking good. Again, I don't think I'm gonna point show this car. There's enough stuff on here that I would need to work on. I don't really feel I want to. I love doing the point shows with the 2 Celicas. The 3rd Celica is probably going to enter into it, but I think this fall at Hershey, you're going to see my 84 STE out there. I think I'll take a break for a year until I get the 92, the gray one, ready to go. It's going to need a little bit of stuff, but I think I'm just going to enjoy driving that car this summer. That car I bought to kind of drive. This car, I love it. I drive it, but it's a little older as far as miles wise. And so what I do, you know, it runs fine. I'm driving it down to Charlotte, but you know, the AC needs replaced. So I've replaced a lot of the components, and I got to do a couple of the ugly ones that are going to be like major surgery on the car. Not until I'm done showing it though. So there's always, like with this car, it's a little needier. It's the neediest of my 3 Celicas. The white one is a virtually brand new car, but I don't want to drive it too much because, like the black 84 STE, it's just so incredibly beautiful. You know, that you want to sparingly drive that one. So I got the one that was like an 85,000 mile 1992 wide body GTS liftback, the gray one. And that one's going to be the one I just enjoy the heck out of driving. This one too. I mean, I'm not driving these in the snow or anything like that, but I think this one and the gray Celica will be my go-to drivers of the fleet in the old stuff. Plus, you know, of course, the daily driver and whatever. But, you know, some cars are a little more occasional use. So just wanted to kind of give you an overview of what's going on with this car. I mean, it stuns me how, I mean, it's original. That's original paint. That's what blows me away. That the original paint, if you go look at my first video, get it some views. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. And you'll look and you're like, it doesn't look that much different. Trust me. The paint was chalk. It was all chalky. It wasn't terrible, but it was chalky, and it was not, it didn't have a shine to it, nowhere, except under that trunk. And now it's shining where it should be. I got all the matching wheels, and I got a couple spares just in case one of these little Pontiac insignias goes missing on the drive. There is a brand new exhaust. There are brand new gas tank straps. The underside got a complete go through, a steam clean and a touch up underneath. No rust, none, thankfully. And it has new shocks, and just, you know, it's, I mean, this is probably the most dramatic of a change for me of a car that I probably would ever see, because I don't have it in me to buy a car and do tons of body work or, you know, full paint job. Those days are rapidly diminishing. You know, I'm very lucky I had someone as good willing to do what he did on here. He replaced these. There's a little ding here. This was like dinged, and I'm going to see if I can get this spot a little bit. If not, it is what it is. And the car, Quaker State Metal Guard. I'll do a commercial for them. They did a good job. When this opens up, it's going to pop because this has a brand new seal in the inside, and this got replaced. So I'm going to go through, and now that this is dried, I'll clean this up a little bit. What happened was this was starting to fail, so they put a piece of like refrigerator in this light gray sealing, you know, like foam tape, and it just did not look good. And luckily, the only two that you can get new old stock are this and the back. The driver's side, neither of those are available. So I only needed this one, so I wasn't going to tempt fate by replacing that one. Didn't need to. So like I said, next up, do a little thorough cleaning on this. This, by the way, for someone tells me it's an 86, it's an 85. It's an option. And I'll put, I'll give you real quick the go round of the sticker price on this car. I'll pause this, I'll show you that. And then I got to get myself out to my shop, drop this thing off, and bring home something else and pack for my trip. So thanks for watching. Take a look for that little invoice of all the prices. And like I said, this was a very pricey LE Pontiac, but I'm really glad it survived, and I'm really glad I got a hold of it, and I'm really glad that it's turned out the way it has. And you really have to slam that door because that thing is sealing perfectly. So anyway, thanks for watching, and check that little bit out, and check out my original video on this to see before and after. I'll put the link in the description. I don't know the little trick to embed it in a video yet. I don't know much about that sort of stuff. Anyway, I do know how to order Pontiac parts. that's one of my, and Toyota parts, and now Chrysler parts, and Ford Bronco parts. But anyway, check that out. All right, this is the VIN breakdown for my 1985 Pontiac 6000 LE sedan. It had the suggested retail price with no options of $97.39. I think like a base one was like $9,000. Anyway, invoice amount $84.04. Date shipped was June 1st, 85. I think it arrived probably 6 days later from Canada to Wisconsin. And the dealer order number, the color, all those things on here. Now, the MSRP with all the options goes $13,906. A lot of money. Like I said, you're within a few $100, $200 to $300 of, in those days, money, of a STE. Invoice 11.5, holdback 404. Invoice total 1208. So, show you these options real quick. Power seat, front split 45/45, which gives 10% for the console. Reclining passenger seat, power locks, soft freight tinted glass, power windows, deck lid release, remote, mats, luggage compartment trim, the trunk's finished, windshield wipers, variable speed, rear defogger, air conditioning, sport mirrors, not power like a STE would have. The console cost a certain amount of money. I don't know if you could order the seats without the console, but it was GM in the 80s, so probably. Two-tone paint, cruise control, 2.8 V6 carbureted, 4-speed auto. So the 3-speed was standard on that. Tilt wheel, wire wheels. Those wire wheels were pricey. The tires, the white sidewall tires, the lamp group, the headlamps, the tungsten halogens, $15. Halogens were extra. Heavy duty battery, the heavier duty cassette, that was the radio to have, and luckily it's with it. Rally gauge package, $100, and then a more for your money program discount thing, negative 200. And look, stop lamp, high level, $25. So this was a June car, so this is towards the end of the 85 production, so I'm sure they were starting to get those ramped up. Anyway, that is it. Don Miller Pontiac, Washington Avenue, Madison, Wisconsin. They still exist. And that is my car. So thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, check out the original video, and look for this car at the GM Nationals in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, towards the end of June. Thank you so much. Have a great day.